Everybody, welcome to the Contextual Christian Church Bible Study, where today we're going to read 2 Chronicles chapter 11, verse 18 to chapter 12, verse 8. I'm going to pray it in. Everybody bow your heads. Father, thank you for getting us up on this Monday, as we're going to get into some funny details of Rehoboam. So this will be a good study, interesting study. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So last time we started off almost the beginning of chapter 11, but got almost to the end. Kind of funny how that works. But anyways, so we had where Rehoboam had built all these cities. Couple of the cities that really stand out for what we read in the future sense, Bethlehem, which is where Jesus was born. And then we had all these built cities for defense in Judah. So they're like smaller cities inside the big city, basically like towns inside a city. But then what we had in verse 10 through 14, we had the suburbs that were built for the Levites. We had the priests had all their area, and they all went to out of their coast. And we had in several cities, he put the weapons, he built places for the weapons, places for the strongholds. And some of the last things that we got into that Jeroboam, was it Jeroboam? Yeah. Yeah, Jeroboam had gotten rid of the Levites and they end up going with Rehoboam. But in the time, Jeroboam instead had built up his own priesthood in the places of worship and worshiped for devils and set up calves like they did before as things to worship separate and differently than God in place of God. So these were their idols. And everybody else came over to Jerusalem to where Rehoboam was. But at the end of it, what we read in verse 17, as it went out of its way to point out that they were faithful for 3 years. So only 3 years were they faithfully walking in the ways of David and Solomon. And that's the last thing we read. As I'll go ahead and switch it to the first section for our first reader today. Go ahead when you're ready.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
All right. We will start off in Second Chronicles chapter 11, verses 18 through 22. All right. Verse 18. And Rehoboam took him Mahalath, the daughter of Yerimoth, the son of David, to wife, and Abihail, the daughter of Eliab, the son of Jesse, which bare him children, Yeush and Shamariah and Zaham. And after her he took Maacah, the daughter of Absalom, which bare him Abiha and Attai and Titiah and Shelomi.
Close, but not a bicha. Where was the extra H? In verse
Abiyah,
20.
Abiyah,
Yeah, there you go. Abiyah.
Abiyah, and Attai and Tita and Shelomi.
Good.
And Rehoboam loved Maacah, the daughter of Absalom, above all his wives and his concubines. For he took 18 wives and threescore concubines, and begat 28 sons and threescore daughters. And Rehoboam made Abiah, the son of Maacah, the chief, to be ruler among his brethren, for he thought to make him king. All right, so essentially in my section, we have some more Rehoboam's plotting, I guess, to have his way, just as he did with the elders. He went to seek the older elders that were with David. He went to seek their advice, but then he went with the advice of his homeboys, per se, his family, the people that he came up with, and he ended up having some seeds, some children, and the one that he favored the most was, let me make sure I got this right, Maacah, which he wanted to be the ruler outside of his brethren. He wanted Maacah to be the top dog out of all the kids that he had.
No,
And
good
hold
try, but
on,
no.
maybe I messed it up. Hold on, give me 1 second. Hold on. I pressed the volume button and it took me out of where I was supposed to be.
Hey, Chris, are you all right? You sound off today.
No, I'm absolutely fine. I'm tired, but
Just tired? Nothing
hundred
else?
percent, 100%. I am still reading. Give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I don't see what I got wrong.
You don't?
I'm reading it through it again. I'm skimming through it, but I don't see what I got wrong.
Don't skim. Read out loud. But I want you to start in verse 20.
And after he took Maacah, the daughter of Absalom, which he buried him.
Who?
And after he took
No,
Maacah,
no, 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 no. Yeah, yeah. Maacah the what?
the daughter of Absalom,
Okay. So
which he
Maacah is the
buried.
daughter of Absalom, which
Yeah,
bear
which Abiha or Abiyah
good. So Abiah and
and
Atahir.
Attai and Sita and Shelomith,
So those are what to Maacah?
grandchildren.
Why would they be grandchildren? I said to Maacah.
Oh, that's nieces and nephews.
Why would you say nieces and nephews?
And Rehoboam took
You sure
Mahalath.
you're just tired? Because you sound like it's a little more than that. Be honest.
I mean, I don't know what else you expecting because I have no money.
Well,
So I
I know
couldn't
you
even
were
get
out
me a
with
steak
friends
or get some
earlier, so that
furniture.
I didn't know. If, I mean, you could have gotten some from them, but you
That's
sound a little off, so that's why I had to double check and make sure. So,
look, that's why I'm telling you. He's my coworker that drives me to and from work. That's why I missed those 2 days, which I did explain to you before.
okay, all right, just have to be sure. All right, so in here, don't guess. Look at what it says. And after her, he took Maacah, the daughter of Absalom, which bare him. So who's the him in that statement?
Rehoboam.
Yeah.
I went a
So
little bit
if
too fast.
she's
That's still his
bearing
daughter.
something for Rehoboam, what does it mean to bear?
That's still his daughter.
You said what?
That's still his daughter. So I went too fast on that.
That's whose daughter?
Rehoboam's.
No. Oh, okay, Chris, don't jump
Hold
for
on.
the answer. It literally says in the same verse, the daughter of Absalom, not the daughter of Rehoboam.
And
So
Rehoboam took him Mahalath, the daughter of Yerimah, the son of David, to wife, and Abihail, the daughter of Eliab, the daughter. Yeah, no, daughter. What am I missing?
you're in the wrong verse. I said 20.
And
And
after her, he
after
took
here,
Maacah,
so
the
after
daughter of Absalom.
Mahalath, he took Maacah, the daughter of Absalom. What does it mean to take the daughter? What does that mean from what we've seen before?
To not conquer, but to wed them.
Yeah, to marry. So he got Maacah, is now Rehoboam's wife, right?
Right.
And then it says, which bear him. So who is the him then in that verse?
Oh, which bear Absalom?
What? No.
What? And after he took Maacah,
Maacah is
the
the
daughter of
daughter of
Absalom.
Absalom.
Yeah, which is the daughter of Absalom, which bear
But you're forgetting the
him
first part.
Abijah.
And
Yeah.
after her, he took. Who's the he? In the very first sentence, who's the he?
Hold on, give me a second. The very first sentence of 19
Of
or
20.
18?
20,
And
Chris.
after
I
he
said
took
that three
Maacah.
times
No,
now.
no, I understand that, but get me,
So
get me,
we're
get me right now. So it's
so I need you
18,
to take a deep
19.
breath.
Hold on,
Hold on,
hold on,
hold on,
hold on.
hold on.
Check me out, check me out, check me out, check me out. So in 18, we're talking about Rehoboam took him Mahalath,
Mahalath,
daughter of
yes.
Yerimah. And that's the son of David, and Abihail, the daughter. He took him too, which bare him children Yeush and Shamaria and Zaham. And after
Good.
her, so this is we're still talking about Rehoboam
Yes.
or
So
Rehoboam.
Rehoboam took Maacah. So that's his wife. So she's married to Rehoboam.
Did
When
I
it
not
says
say
the daughter,
Rehoboam?
no. You said that Rehoboam, that Maacah was her granddaughter, but she's married to Rehoboam. You were
Maybe I
completely
thought I
off.
switched it up. Maybe I thought I switched it up, but I just
So, but
didn't get
with
my
that in
bad.
mind, now that you have that now, so when I asked which bear him, who is the him then?
Rehoboam.
Good. So if who bear him Rehoboam, so then with that in mind, Maacah is married to Rehoboam, and it says that which bear him Abiah and Attai and Ziza and Shelomith. So what is Abiah to Maacah?
Give me a second.
What does it mean to bear someone, Chris?
I already told you that means to have kids. Or no, I didn't tell you
Exactly.
that actually.
No, you did. You did say that.
No, that was the wed. We went through wed before. So
No, no, to bear is to have kids. You're bearing kids. That's what it means. And then it said that bear him Abiah and those other listed. So who are those other listed to the one that bears them?
say that again before I answer.
Chris.
No, 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 no. Don't do that. I asked you for clarification. Who are those that
No,
bear
no.
him, right?
Listen, listen, listen. Take a step. Take a deep breath. You're overthinking it. It's not that difficult. It's really not. Take a deep breath and stop trying to force an answer and just pause for a second.
I'm not, but that's why I was
If
clarifying it
I
for.
bear someone, if my wife bears a child named, let's say no, let's say I'm gonna say it the same way, but I'm gonna say it with Charles as an example. All right.
Mm-hmm,
Charles married a girl named Stephanie, who was the
mm-hmm.
daughter of a guy named Jack. And so Stephanie was married to Charles and bare him Jonathan, Isaiah, and Charles Jr.
So those are his
Who
kids.
is who? So who is Charles Jr. to Stephanie?
That's his child.
His Stephanie is a guy.
No, that's Charles's child. I was going based off of Charles.
Okay, the question I asked is who is Charles Jr. to Stephanie?
That is her child.
Exactly. Take that same premise and reread 20.
And after her, he took Maacah, the daughter of Absalom, which bare him Abiah, and Attai, and Titsa, and Shelomith,
Okay. So who is Abiah to Maacah?
their mother.
Reverse, but yes, it's her children.
What?
Abiah is Maacah's child. You just explained it with the Charles thing. How do you not
No, I
understand it
get
with
what you're
reading?
saying. No, 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 no. I had muted you. No, I get what you're saying.
Oh, okay. Because you said what? I was like,
Yeah,
what don't
no,
you
because
understand? You just did it with
my
Charles.
roommate came in the room. My roommate came in the room, and I had to mute.
Oh, okay. So, yes, Abiah is Maacah's child. Okay. Now go to 22. After read 21 and 22 out loud. With that, keep that understanding in mind.
So you want me
Out
to read
loud.
22 and then go up to 20 and 21?
No, no, no. I said read 21 and 22 out loud.
Okay. And Rehoboam loved Maacah, the daughter of Absalom, and all his wives, and his
And all his
concubines,
wives?
above all his wives,
Good.
and his concubines. So he loved them above everybody else, or at least the wives and
Okay.
concubines. Let me make that distinction.
No, no, no. He
Or
loved Maacah above the others.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Above the
Oh,
wives and the
you said
concubines.
them. Them is more than one. Maacah is one
No,
person.
I got you. So Rehoboam loved Maacah more than the wives and concubines. of
Good.
Absalom.
What?
And Rehoboam loved Maacah, the daughter of Absalom, above all his wives and
Okay,
concubines.
here's where your confusion is coming in. Where did it say that they were Absalom's concubines? You're getting tripped up by the daughter of
Get
Absalom
you.
part.
No, 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 no. I'm moving. Nah, I get you. I get you. I get exactly what you're saying.
This is why I said it sounds like you're off more than just being tired. You would get that even if you're tired. You're mixing in the daughter of Absalom with the concubines. The only thing that it's pointing out the daughter of Absalom is that Maacah is the daughter of Absalom.
No, I
That's
understand.
it.
Get
That's
I
just a
get it now.
description.
I see exactly what you're saying.
Okay.
I was too focused on the previous verses before that. So I got you.
So
Because
he
it
loved
says
Rehoboam. So Rehoboam loved Maacah more than above all of who?
his wives and his concubines.
Good. And it goes to point out how many he had, just to let us know how much he loved Maacah.
Right.
Now
18
go
wives and
read
15
22 out
concubines.
loud.
And Rehoboam made Abiah, the son of Maacah, which is his favorite, the ruler among the brethren that he made. Like everybody else that he made, he put
So who
them
is the
above
ruler
everybody
over
else.
the brethren?
Abiah.
There you go. Not
I see what you're
Maacah.
saying. Yeah, no, I see where exactly I made the mistake. I do apologize for that.
So keep this in mind in future reference with that. Whenever it says the daughter of or the son of, you can basically dismiss that as the not part of the main point of the verse. You still need to point it out that it went out of its way to say that, but it's not part of the main point. And I want you to do this as an exercise. I want you to reread it, but I want you to skip every single portion that says the son of or the daughter of and reread it out loud.
All right, sorry, from 18. And Rehoboam took him Mahalath to wife, and Abichai, which bare him the children Yehush and Samaria and Zaham. And after her he took Maacah, which bare him Abiah, and Attai and Sita and Shelomith. And Rehoboam loved Maacah, the daughter. Oh, and Rehoboam loved Maacah above all his wives and his concubines, for he took 18 wives and 80 concubines, and begat 28 sons and 80 daughters. And Rehoboam made Abiah the chief to be ruler among his brethren, for he thought to make him king.
Makes it a lot easier to understand, don't it?
Yeah,
So if you're ever having a hard time because there's too much of the son of, the daughter of, honestly, yes, you do need to point out at some point in your explanation that it goes out of its way to say that. But when you're just trying to understand the point that's being made as a whole, it's completely irrelevant. It doesn't help you to understand it at all, as you saw from just reading that. So the next time that you go to read it and you see, and this is for everybody, the next time that you go to read it where it says the son of, the daughter of, anything like that, read the same section twice. Once reading it with it saying that, and the second time skipping those sections because they are not the main focal point of it. It is an important detail, but it's not the main focal point of what's being said. It's a side detail that they want to make sure you remember.
Okay,
It's
so
kind of
for
like
me
when
to
people
summarize,
today say PS in papers and stuff, or by the way.
so for me to properly summarize my section, I would say Rehoboam made to be a chief overall prospects. Not prospects. Maybe prospects not the right word. Over every option available.
You're forgetting one part. The reason why he made a Bia or wanted Bia to be king.
Because Maaka was his favorite. That
There
he
you
had
go.
somebody. Okay.
So if you were to summarize the whole thing, the best way to say it would be this: Rehoboam loved Maacah so much more than everybody other wife and concubine that he made her son Abiah the chief over all their brethren because he wanted to make him king. That would be a good summary for your section because it points out how in the same section, yeah, it talked about the wives that he had, but it talks about them for a specific reason to say that they were definitely not the favorite. You see what I'm
I
saying?
got you. Yeah. Now, and look, I will go ahead and say right now, I wasn't all the way through and through. I was laying down, but now I am sitting up. So
Now that makes more sense. Little point of a correction then. I've told you this before. If you're tired,
good.
you can't be laying down. You need to be standing up or sitting up because you know you can't focus, you can't understand as easily, and you're more likely to be on the edge of falling asleep if you do that.
Understood. We're good. Well, like I said, I know what I did wrong, so that's why I said what I did wrong.
Yeah, but that's a good lesson for everybody. Not about the tired part. That's good too, but keep that in mind whenever you see the son and daughter of someone. It's kind of irrelevant to the point unless we're reading a portion where we're talking about the lineage. If we're talking about the lineage, okay. Now, there's one detail that I would say is an important detail that you should bring up in your explanation for the section beyond just a summary. And it's not a requirement because it's not the main focal point, but it is a good detail you should bring up. When it points out that she is the daughter of Absalom, after having the son the daughter of Yerimoth, who's the son of David, why would it matter to put the lineage of those two wives?
Because Absalom tried to kill David.
Not just tried to kill David. Absalom was
Multiple times.
David's son and tried to, and for a little bit, successfully took over the kingdom.
Okay, yeah, no, I didn't recall that. So that's on me.
So it's a side detail, but it's an important detail. So we have David, who was the king, the godly king, and we had Absalom, who was David's son, who overthrew David for a little bit. So that's what we see. That's why their names are important details to point out. All right. Now then, does anybody have any comments or any questions as we go to the second section? Now would be the time to raise your hand. All right, go ahead, Charles.
Wasn't Absalom the one that he get killed, the firstborn of somebody? That dude was he was doing something wrong, and the decision was made to kill him. And Absalom and some other princes had all
Yeah,
came
it
together
was
to make a
David's
decision to kill
other
this.
kids.
Yeah,
One of his sons had forcibly, intimately attacked their sister.
That's what I was
And
thinking about.
yeah, that was the time. There was Absalom that killed him. Yeah, he hated him because of what he did to his sister, which is it makes sense. Like it's you do that to my sister, we have problems. But
But the other dude was a David's kid too, right?
yeah, they were all three David's children through different
Yeah,
wives.
yeah.
So they were step family, which is why technically in some ancestrally step family is not necessarily considered family. Biblically though, we did read in the Old Testament that you were not allowed, that it was considered family according to God's eyes. So you're not allowed to sleep with your mother's daughter, or your and you're not allowed to sleep with your stepmom. Like you're not allowed to get with them, biblically speaking. It was rejected. So yes. All right. So then the second reader, I believe, was Thomas. So
Yeah.
go ahead when you're ready.
All right. First off, I'll be reading Second Chronicles. I'll be finishing out Second Chronicles chapter 11, verse 23, and then I'll be reading chapter 12 up from 1 to 4. You forgot the one there at the top, Matt.
Why would you put the one?
Oh,
You
I thought
just
you would just put
explained it
1 through 4.
incorrectly.
Oh, I figured you put 1 through 4, but okay.
Well, here's where your problem comes in.
Oh, I see
Are
what you're
we
saying.
are
Yeah, we spoke about this before. Yeah, I see what you're saying now. Just
mm-hmm,
continuation all the way through. Okay, my bad, guys.
exactly. See, to keep in mind as the reason why for those that if somebody were to be listening to this new on the apps or whatever, the reason why we don't put 1 to 4 on 12 and 11 is because the chapters are not a separator all the times. They're a continuation, especially in Chronicles and other areas, the larger books. The chapters weren't even added till hundreds of years after the Bible had already existed. So chapter 11 to chapter 12, that didn't exist at all in the original Bible. So when we go to read this, how you should have explained it and how
I
you
can
would
do it
explain
now.
it.
I can do it now.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, guys. I'll be reading Second Chronicles chapter 11, 23 through 12, verse 4. Chapter 12, verse 4.
I was
All
going to
right.
correct for good self correction.
Yep. It's one of those days for all of us. All right, here we go. And he dealt wisely and dispersed all his children throughout all the countries of Judah and Benjamin unto every fenced city, and he gave them victuals in abundance, and he desired many wives. And it came to pass, when Rehoboam had established the kingdom and had strengthened himself, he forsook the law of the Lord and all Israel with him. And it came to pass that in the 5th year of King Rehoboam, Shishkash, king of Egypt, came up against Jerusalem, because they had transgressed against the Lord with 1,200 chariots and 60,000 horsemen, and the people were without number that came with him out of Egypt. And Labim, hold on, let me just pull up it'd be the simplest ones that be getting me. Hold on,
Mm-hmm.
1 second.
Ooh.
Lubi,
Mm-hmm.
Lubim. All right,
Think like looting, but lubing.
okay. The Lubim, the Sakims,
No,
Sakims. No,
no.
let me see. Let me go back. Sukim,
There you go.
Sukim, and the Ephrathites.
Now, obviously, the S, you do got to say it with the S because it's the Sukkim, the
Sukims,
definition, that's just the origin of it, right? But if it's got the S, we're talking about more than one of the same.
more than one. Got you. So Sukims and the Ephrathites. Ephrathians. If hold on. Jeez Louise. Why am I getting Kushi? Let me go back to the origin.
That's because that's the original name for Ethiopians. Although that one is English, that is not the original language, Hebrew. Remember, we had somebody named Kushi.
Right. Okay.
Ethiopian is Kush.
Okay. Kushins. Ethiopians.
Ethiopian people would originally be called Kushites.
Gotcha. All right. 4. Was that on 4?
Huh?
I was on
No,
4,
no, you
correct?
just read 3. The
I just read
Ethiopians.
3. Okay, Ethiopians. And he took the fenced cities which pertained to Judah and came to Jerusalem. So I'm gonna just read 1 real quick to myself. Wait, let me go back. As a matter of fact, 23. I had that was in dispersed of the children. Let me just look up a word real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we have here Rehoboam end up dispersing all his kids, like spreading them out throughout all the countries and whatnot. But a part of doing that, he takes care of them by providing them with food in abundance, so they be straight. And but in the meantime, while his kids are gone, and he got tied to himself. He's desiring many wives, and then he feels some type of way. I said a long time for you. All right, let me go over to 12. 1, I'm gonna read it to myself.
The only
So
thing that I
when
would say in 23 is adding in the lonely part wouldn't make sense because he already had wives.
oh, it was a joke. I didn't mean it like literally,
No,
but
no,
I
no.
get
I
what you're
know,
saying.
I know, but
Yeah,
you should speak on the other side of it because that why
true.
would you want so many wives? There's lessons that could be taken from that would be good to point out. You see what I'm saying?
He exactly. So he never could have enough. He always wanted more. I felt like he was never truly satisfied. So he always wanted more and more and more. So he already had a plethora of wives, but here he is wanting more wives.
Good. And why
And
does
then
that
in
matter to
1,
point out?
that just goes to show his character, who he is as a person.
Exactly. All right. Go ahead and continue.
And I had to read 1 again. My attention span is crazy. My remembrance span is crazy. All right, here we go. And the king pass.
Okay, we'll get you some Ritalin later.
Ha 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 ha. So now Rehoboam is establishing his kingdom and his strength, and he's feeling himself now. But in the same time, in the same process, he's forsaking the Lord, meaning as in he's doing away with the Lord and doing things in his own willing way, and just going about things not according to David and Solomon how they did things. And then 2, let me read real quick in the kingdom past in the 5th year. Let me look up something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in two, it's saying here in the 5th year of Rehoboam reigning, Shishka, the king of Egypt, ends up coming
Shishka?
against 1 second. She 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 Shah. She shock. She
There's a
shock.
K there, though.
She shock.
There you go.
She shock. Okay, so she shocked
Like a she shed, but a she shack.
right. She shocked. The king of Israel ends up coming up against Jerusalem, Rehoboam, because he ends up transgressing. I looked up transgressing, meaning as in like to trespass or like to go to do him wrong, not be faithful towards whatever
Close,
type of.
but it's not quite. Um,
Let me look it up one
so
more time.
it is the trespass, but in the essence of what? Trespass in what essence?
Let me just look up one more time and I get a better understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Against God?
Yes, but more specifically, in the essence of sin or righteousness. So to trespass or to transgress a law means that it's not necessarily something that is a sin in and of itself. Like there are things that no matter how or why you're doing it, it's a sin. But then there are other things that, depending on how you go about it, can either be sin or not. A good example of this is drinking. If you just drink and you're not getting drunk, you're sober minded, you can think clearly, then you're not in sin. But if you drink to the point that you can't think clearly, or you're outlandish, or not, or you're becoming a problem for other people, now you've taken it to the point of sin. So that's not just iniquity, that's not just sin, but more specifically a trespass or a transgression. Think about how the word trans is like transition.
Right. Okay. So we have what Matt just stated. And then in 13, it's just saying like pretty much the amount of army that he came with. So he ends up coming up with 1,200 chariots, 300,000 horsemen, which is 60,000 horsemen. And people were outnumbered. He came up with a whole slew of people, like as far as I can see type situation.
Good.
Let me see this last part. And then it's naming the groups of people. In 4, he took his fenced cities. So in 4, it's saying that he ended up taking over the fenced cities, and then he made his way all the way to Jerusalem.
That he made his way to Jerusalem?
Or came to Jerusalem.
Good. What's the difference between saying made his way in this context
Like he was still
versus came
going,
to?
right? Like
Yeah,
so, like he got through the fenced city, and he still had a ways to go. That was my fault. He was already there
exactly.
when he got through the fenced cities.
Exactly. Now, is it possible that when he came to Jerusalem, he was still going through it?
That's what I
Yeah.
was thinking. Like, there's maybe a couple acres, still had a little ways to
Mm-hmm.
go.
But where's the problem in saying that? We don't have
It's not in the
confirmation in here
context.
that that's what
Yep.
happened. Now, is that it for your explanation?
Yeah, for the most part.
You know, for the reason I said that, there's something you missed. I'll
Jeez,
give
you
you
have
a
to
hint.
direct me to a verse.
Can't do that because it's not from today's. And here's your hint. It's a confirmation. So there's something
Mm.
in what you read that confirmed something we read before that we were unsure of.
Man, I'm
So
not even
it
gonna say and pretend like I remember, bro.
all right, that's fine. Let me give somebody else a chance. Charles, since you've been sitting quietly and not able to respond, what in Thomas's section confirmed something that we read before that we didn't have confirmed as of yet?
I don't remember. I wish I did.
Chris?
I don't know as far as confirmation, but what was the first question you asked to him? Like, because it
There's
wasn't the
something
confirmation.
in Thomas's portion that he read today that confirmed something that we read before that was not fully confirmed until now.
You'd have to give me a little bit of time to go through it.
Well, we can't do that in the midst of Bible study.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
So the question, or here's one more hint, and obviously got to give Thomas the first chance. It was in the section that we read on Saturday.
Yeah, that doesn't help. I'm
Okay,
sorry. No.
Charles.
No, yeah, I'm on the same page as Thomas. I don't remember.
Okay, Chris.
Was it something that it had to do something with Rehoboam's intentions as far as asking
No,
the no, that's not what it was.
no. What it was, remember, we had a whole discussion on it. Why would it go out of its way to point out 3 years they were faithful?
Ah man, you better not. You
We had a
better not.
question there.
Because
Why would it
yeah,
go out
because
of
they
its way
went
to
back.
point out that they were faithful for three
Man.
years? And we had a whole discussion about this because of that. Because as we said, we're like, oh, well, I don't know. Well, we have somewhat of a confirmation before, not a full confirmation, because we had experiences otherwise prior to this where people were faithful for 50 years, 100 years. We had multiple examples. So why point out 3 years? Because you're trying to point out that it's not a long time. And then we have confirmation here in chapter 12 as to why. So now, here goes the question. Since you have that extra hint, starting same order, Thomas, then Charles, and Chris. Because of what you have in chapter 12,
Yeah.
why did it say 3 years twice?
Could you say that one more time?
Yep, because of everything you read in chapter 12 here, like I said, it's confirmation of it.
Yeah.
So why did he say 3 years twice? Why did he emphasize that they were faithful for 3 years? Knowing what we know
And,
now in
and
chapter 12.
well, despite you stating like how little time it was, like outside of that, or what?
No. It has to do with that.
Okay.
It's the fact that, but the fact that it's little is not the only reason. There's a part that's confirmed in your section you read. What is confirmed?
The
Why the because you pointing out that
when they
he
spoke on
pointed
the
out that
transgression
it's
part, so they like the what's it called? Kind of like an agreement they had with one another that only lasted for so long. Is that along the lines of what you're talking about?
close but not quite. Charles?
Okay.
A hint to prepare us for the downfall of the children of Israel and the
There
path
you
that
go.
the downward path that they're going to go.
There you go.
Oh, there
See
it is.
why you were close? Thomas, but wasn't the right answer.
Yeah.
You went too specific. He said the transgressed the Lord. Well, they've transgressed the Lord without completely forsaking God. But look at what it said in the first verse in 21 and chapter 12, verse 1. I mean, he forsook the law of the Lord. Remember what it means to forsake something. It's not just missing out. It's not just not having it once or twice. It's to completely turn away. Like in Hebrews 10, which I quote all the time when I talk about when people are living in sin versus committing a sin. It says in verse 25 and 24 to not forsake the assembling of ourselves together. And I bring that up with you guys when I talk about whether or not someone needs to be on Bible study. If there's an emergency that happens, or if you're at a job that you don't have you haven't had the ability or time to ask for a different work schedule or to be able to look for another job, it's understandable if you can't be on and fully invested for Bible study or worship service at the moment. But if you're going 4 months, 6 months, and you're still unable to be actually invested in the Bible studies and in the worship services, then you are not putting God first. You are forsaking it. Now, let's take it to the other side. If you've been on and then you decide you're just not going to be on, by you saying you're not going on anymore, you have forsaken the Bible studies. You have forsaken the gathering together of us. That's what you're doing. So, taking that same concept of what forsaking something means, you turn away and don't look back. That's what it really means. Looking at 12:1, he strengthened himself. He established his kingdom, and it said he forsook the law of the Lord. He completely rejected the law of the Lord, turned away from it, never intending to look back. That's what Rehoboam did. So when it brought up the 3 years, we're not just talking about it being small just for the sake it's small. We're not even just talking about it because he was going to sin. We're talking about it because it's a complete and utter downfall of Israel at that point. And then not only the downfall on a spiritual level, but even on a leadership level, as what we look at in verse 3 and verse 2 from Egypt, the king of Egypt. These cities were set up as a defense by Rehoboam, and he obliterated them, completely destroyed them, took them over. And then he came over to Jerusalem. So from that perspective, when we see that it points out that it was 3 years, we know that this confirms that it was pointing it out to let you know it was, and the emphasis word, only 3 years. That subject was emphasized only 3 years, which foreshadowed the downfall of the children of Israel in this event. Does that make sense, Thomas?
Man, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. And Chris, you understand that too? Chris?
Sorry, my phone tripped out on me, man. I knew it as soon as Charles said it. I was like, I got it. But yeah,
All
no,
right.
that was my bad. My phone was tripping out on me.
All right. All right. Now, I'll go ahead and switch to the final section for today. But in the meantime, does anybody have any comments or any questions before we go to before we read the final section? All right. Then
I
go
got
ahead,
you.
Charles, when you're ready.
I got you. I'll be reading Second Chronicles chapter 12, verses 5 to 8. I'm going to give it a couple seconds. Verse 5. Then came Shemaiah, the prophet of Rehoboam, and to the princes of Judah that were gathered together to Jerusalem because of Shishak, and said unto them, Thus saith the Lord, ye have forsaken me, and therefore have I also left you in the hand of Shishak. Whereupon the princes of Israel and the king humbled themselves, and they said, The Lord is righteous. And when the Lord saw that they humbled themselves, the word of the Lord came to Shemaiah, saying, They have humbled themselves. Therefore, I will not destroy them, but I will grant them some deliverance. And my wrath shall not be poured out upon Jerusalem by the hand of Shishak. Nevertheless, they shall be his servants, that they may know my service and the service of the kingdoms of the countries. So, for my section, we start off with Shemaiah the prophet telling Rehoboam and the princes of Judah that you forsake you and everybody else. Y'all turned away from God. And that's why he's turning away from you and you're left to deal with Shishak. But then they turn after they hear the prophet Shemaiah, now they want to humble themselves. Oh, we done messed up now. Everybody humbles themselves when they don't see a way out. Everybody humbles themselves when they see defeat at the end of the door. But the God saw them humbling themselves, and God told Shemaiah that he won't obliterate the kings of Judah, Rehoboam, and all of that. He'll give them some deliverance, and part of that some deliverance is they're going to be Shishak's servants. You won't be obliterated, but you'll still be around. You'll just be a servant to an Egyptian king, which is funny because they were already servants to an Egyptian king before they went to the promised land. Funny how that works. And that's what I got for my section. I hope y'all can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, it was silent for a minute, so I was like, "Oh man, don't tell me it gave me that fake connection in my house again."
No, we can hear you, but here's the thing. Why is it interesting? You didn't explain that. You brought it up, which is important, but what is interesting about that? What not just because it's more, let me say this first. It's more than just the fact that they are going to be under an Egyptian king. What
For
there's
me, what's
more to it
interesting
that's
about it
interesting based
is,
on that.
God could have had it. God could have had other nations take over for them to be servants under other nations, but it's Egypt again. He could have had the Syrians. He could have had what's the other ones? The Philistines. I'm forgetting some other ones.
You're almost there, but you're not. You're going off track. The concept,
Oh,
yes, but there's more to it. Same subject about Egypt, but something more specific.
you're
Why
giving me a
is
second
it?
chance to answer.
Yes, I am. Why is it important that it's Egypt? It's not because
Ah,
there's other options.
the only thing that pops up in my head is the fact that God had did a lot against Israel. He not Israel, Egypt. And he killed a bunch of people in Egypt. There were a bunch of firstborns that wasn't born. The sea turned blood. Oh man. That's one thing I'm thinking about. The obliteration he did with Egypt when they were leaving. Um,
Why were they leaving?
oh,
You're right
through
on the
Moses
edge. You just haven't said it.
going. You talking about
That's
going
how,
through
not why.
why? So he can deliver his people from.
There you
He could deliver his
go.
people and take them to the promised land.
There you go. God saved the children of Israel from being slaves in Egypt with the purpose and intent to give them and take them to the promised land. So now that they've completely forsaken his law, and the people that are going to become enslaved to, as it points out, is the very same place they were saved from. That's like if I let somebody live with me to better themselves, and they were staying with a friend or family or at risk of homelessness, and then they didn't abide by the rules of what was needed to stay here. And the end result was when I kick them out, they go right back to where I was helping them, saving them from. It's ironic and interesting that it's literally the same exact people that he saved them from, that because of them doing wrong, that they went back to. That's why it's an important detail that it's Egypt. You see what I'm saying, Charles?
Now I see where you're getting at.
So it's not about obliterating Egypt. That's if the whole story of the children of Israel being saved from Egypt, the obliteration of Egypt is not even the main focus. The main focus is saving the children of Israel and bringing them to the promised land. But it's not like it's the last focus either. After those, the third is that God was demonstrating his power and authority to the children of Israel. But that still traces back to the first two, because as this question goes, Chris, why did God do all that, and why was he showing that to the children of Israel? What was the purpose behind the children of Israel seeing Egypt get obliterated, as Charles said? Oh, is your phone still tripping?
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, no, I said foreshadowing because I feel like it's like this could be you.
I'm gonna ask the question again.
So you guys in
Why
there, right? So,
why would God show the children of Israel the obliteration of Egypt? Not why did we read about it? Why would he show them that? Saying
yeah,
foreshadowing
again,
is not an actual answer.
yeah, to show you what could happen to you, which is foreshadowing. That's why I said foreshadowing.
That's not foreshadowing.
That's, that's okay.
So,
Hold on.
foreshadowing is giving you a hint of something that will happen in the future. It's something to let somebody know that this is going to happen. The word you're meaning to say is a warning, a
Okay, I'll take
demonstration.
that, but that's what I said primarily, like foreshadowing, but I don't know if that's the word that I'm looking for, but it's
Yeah,
in a
foreshadowing is
sense
not the
of
right word.
foreshadowing.
You got, and this is something that happens with all three of you guys every so often. You you guys got to take some time and think about the words that you use, that they actually mean what you think they mean. Because when you
No,
use because
hold
when you
on,
use
real quick. I made sure I googled it before. Foreshadow is to be a warning or indication of a future event.
yeah,
Foreshadow would actually work in this sense.
yes, but it's a warning or indication of a future event. So the warning of a future event, a warning can be a possibility. The difference between a foreshadowing and a warning is a warning is not always a guarantee depending on the context. A foreshadowing
Yeah,
is a guarantee.
yeah, but foreshadow to be a warning, it actually is in the definition. That's why I said it. I
Oh no
wanted
no
to
no
make
no!
sure I
But
said it.
it didn't say a warning by itself. It said a
Google it. It
warning
says
of
to be a
something
warning
that is
or.
yeah. Oh no! It didn't just say a warning or. It said a warning or hint. You got to read that
Yeah, to be
context.
a warning or a indication.
Of
It still
what?
says a warning. That's why I said it.
A war?
Of a
No, no,
future
no, no,
event.
no, no, no.
That's why.
Chris, what does the rest of it say? A warning or indication of
Be a
what?
warning or indication of future events. That's why I said be a
Yes.
warning.
Hold on, hold on.
That's why I use it that way.
Hold on, Chris. That's incorrect the way you're using it. Of future events. If I'm showing you how strong I am, does that mean that you are guaranteed gonna go against me?
Of course not, because if you continue the way that you
So
do,
it's not a warning of a future event. It's a warning of a possibility if this future event happens. You see how those are different? One is
yeah, no,
possibility, one is
I get what you're saying.
guarantee.
Yeah, no, I get you. I get you.
That's the difference
I get
between
you.
a warning and a foreshadowing. When you watch a
One's
story,
guaranteed, one's possible.
yeah, like if you watch anime, whenever they say that something is foreshadowed, what are they talking about? Well, when you go back to the earlier episode, it showed you through this, and that the later episode, you should have known it was going to happen because it told you it was going to. A perfect example of this
So
is in the show Naruto.
hold
Naruto
no, hold on.
foreshadowed hit.
Wait. I don't watch Naruto, so I don't want to go into that. But would
No,
a
no,
better word be
I'm gonna give a perfect example of it in Naruto that you would know, because you know this
okay?
much at least. You know that Naruto ends up with Hinata, right? They're married. That's the
Correct.
whole premise of Boruto. All right, cool. In the very first episode of Naruto, not even the first 100, in literally the very first episode of Naruto, you have where everybody is giving Naruto crap, but Hinata, with red rosy cheeks, is telling Naruto in a positive way to do his best. She's already showing interest in him, and they drew it that way, and with her tone of voice and everything, in the very first episode. So going through the earlier episodes, it should never have been a thought that Naruto would end up with Sakura, because the writers were showing us the foreshadowing what was going to happen from the beginning on. It was always there. That's foreshadowing.
Right. So it's more of a hint. That's what I was saying.
Well,
Trying
a
to get at.
warning could work if it's negative. A warning or well, a hint doesn't work only because a hint of what?
So
The
what
different
word would you
warning.
use as like a definite? Okay. I get what you're saying.
The difference between foreshadowing and warning is that a warning has a possible future, but a foreshadow has a guaranteed future. A difference between a hint and a foreshadowing is that a hint could be anything. You could get a hint that somebody's mad at you. You could get a hint that somebody loves you. You could get a hint about the future, and it could be a possibility, it could be a problem. But it's not the same thing as a warning. That's why in the definition of foreshadowing, it says a warning or hint of a future event. So the main
I
focus
got you.
is the future event is going to happen, and the foreshadowing is whatever is happening at the current, present, or past that tells you that that future event is going to happen.
Right. So foreshadowing is more of a definite, not
Yeah,
just chance.
foreshadowing is a guarantee, not a
I
possibility.
get you on that. I
A
get you.
warning or a hint is a possibility. But the reason you can't use the word hint is because when God was showing demonstration, he wasn't hinting generically. He was letting them know, if you screw around, you're going to find out. That's what he was showing them. So that's
Gotcha.
not just a hint, that's more specific, and it's more specific to a warning to let you know there will be consequences if something else goes, if it goes wrong and against me. So yeah, warning would be the best.
Definitely
If
understand. I got you right there.
yeah. All right. Now we go back to it. Okay. So back to it from that question that I was bringing up and why. So yeah, when God told them, when he showed them, so that's why when Charles said obliterated, even if you wanted to go into Charles, even if you wanted to go into the idea that God did obliterate Egypt, it would still be wrong. Do you understand why that answer would be wrong?
Go ahead, cause now I'm thrown off.
So the reason why bringing up the obliterated would be wrong is because you're not bringing up why he obliterated them. When you
Oh,
just
I
bring,
thought the obliterated was wrong because that wasn't. I thought that was just wrong for another reason entirely.
well, no, I'm not talking about the word obliterated works, but the concept is incorrect with the question. Because the whole point of the question is why does it matter that he pointed out Egypt? Well, if you just point out that God obliterated Egypt, well, there's multiple reasons why God could do that, right? He could do
Oh,
it
like
because they
without
don't
adding the
follow him.
specification of it, like adding the more
Yeah.
details to it. That's what you meant by it. Okay.
So even if you brought up obliterated, if you don't bring up why they were obliterated, it still would be an incorrect answer to the question of it. Why is it important that Egypt? Because in this situation, it's being talked of them being put back into slavery with the very people that God obliterated. Well, is that really the main focal point of the obliteration?
No.
No. Then is it the main focal point of here and why it matters? No. Just that's like saying if you were playing football Madden with somebody and you guys had a bet that whoever wins pays the other person $1,000 and you beat the person 35-7 and somebody when they explained it was saying all the thing they said is, bro, man, you should have seen it. It was a crazy game. Man, Charles completely destroyed this dude 35-7. It wasn't even close. And that's all that they brought up about the situation. Never brought up the $1,000 that were on the line. So now the whole reason why you're doing it becomes unknown, becomes not important. So then let's say, as comparing it to here, if now you owed somebody $1,000 for whatever reason, and so they said that they're gonna instead of you paying them, you have to pay the $1,000 to the person who you beat in that bet. That you got to give them the 1,000. But when somebody else explains it, the only thing that they bring up is saying that, like, oh yeah, and he gave him $1,000. He told him to give $1,000. I'm gonna use names so we could specify, make it simple. So Jeremy's the guy you beat, and Joshua's the guy that you owe money to in this scenario. So Joshua says that Charles has to pay Jeremy $1,000. And then I come in after the fact, reading about it, talking about how you paid Jeremy $1,000, and you had beat him 35-7. See how when I say that, I'm not actually explaining why it matters.
I understood, but before you brought in that example, I understood where you were coming from. Which is the thing I
Yeah.
got to work on. The example was so long that you didn't lost me on the example, but I
Oh,
understood what
okay.
you meant before the example about how I wasn't detailed about the obliteration. I just brought up obliteration of Egypt. I
Yeah.
didn't bring up like the why or anything.
And keep that in mind too, then, with future reference. why something happens matters a whole lot more than the fact that it happened when it comes to things in the Bible. There are times where it matters the fact that it happened, but more often than not, it's the purpose behind it that matters more, not the fact that it happened. We see that all over the place with the Bible. We see it with the man who was born blind. And then the apostles asked Jesus, saying, who sinned that he was born blind, his parents or him? And Jesus said, neither did his parents sin, nor did he sin, but he was born blind so that I could heal him. So throughout the Bible, the why matters a lot more on a tally of how often it happens. The why matters a lot more than the fact that it actually happened. Even with Jesus' crucifixion and everything that he went through, he was hit with the whips. I believe it was 39 times. It was something. It was like 2 score minus one or something like that. I think it was like 39 times. Does the amount of times that he was hit matter, or why he was hit matter more? The fact is, the why matters more. You see what I'm saying, Charles?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So, and same thing for Thomas and Chris. You guys understand that now?
Yeah.
100%.
All right. Now, does anybody have any comments or any questions before we pray it out? All right.
May I go real quick?
You said what?
I said, may I go real quick?
May you go real quick?
Yeah, yeah.
What do you mean?
Comment.
Oh, you know to raise your hand. But yeah.
Yeah, no. I didn't. Like I said, my phone's acting real finicky right now, so that's why I just
Oh, okay.
opened it. But no, I wasn't. I was like, I wasn't trying to be like combative or anything like that. Like, I genuinely had the question. That's why I was like, wait a minute. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, explain it to me, and then you explained it to me, and I understood it. So that's why I was like, all right, cool.
Wait, what are you talking about?
How we went through the whole definition of foreshadow. Like, I
Of
wasn't trying to be
no one.
combative or anything.
Well, you bringing that up is kind of irrelevant. I mean, no, I didn't think you were being combative.
Well, it's not just for us. People may perceive it a different way. Perception is
Doesn't. Well,
definitely more about
okay, I got to correct you on that. It doesn't matter how they perceive it. People could perceive me being disrespectful when I tell somebody that they're being arrogant, or when I have to raise my voice and shut somebody down. People's perceptions are going to be what they're going to be. What matters is, are we doing what the Bible requires? You never
right
need to
now. I understand.
explain if it's ever about perception, the only perception that matters at all, as the Bible shows, is if we seem as though we are sinning. But even that has its limitations. For example, drinking. Drinking is not a sin. And they literally, everybody drank in the communion. Getting drunk is a sin. So if
Right,
somebody sees us together having communion, and that, or together we're having dinner, and everybody has wine and beers, and we're watching the Super Bowl or whatever, there are a lot of churches that from their perception are going to look at it as we're sinning. We're having a drinking party, which the Bible does condemn. We're having a party for the sake of drinking. We're alcoholics. People can perceive that. Or in the same token, when I get frustrated when you guys aren't able to answer simple questions, somebody can take that as not having patience. In their perception, they could take it as I'm an impatient leader, or I have an
right.
attitude. But
Right.
unless I'm
But
actually having an attitude or actually being impatient, the frustrations are going to come at certain points, especially when it's a situation like that. Something that you should be able to figure out and aren't, because your
right.
capabilities are more than what they are at the moment.
I
So,
I said what I said to kind of like water down that perception. You know what I mean? That I said what I said on
but that's
those
why I'm
parameters.
correcting you. You shouldn't be doing that.
All right.
Our job is not to make somebody think that we're pristine, gentle souls that never make mistakes and never get passionate or never get invested in everything. That's not our job.
That's
Our
that's not
job
what I
is
was
to
really
be,
saying.
well, now you keep on responding, but you're not hearing my point. The perception
Sorry,
of
go ahead.
others, the perception of others doesn't matter. What matters is, are we giving an impression of us sinning? For example, being surrounded by people who are smoking and you're standing there while they're smoking. That's giving an impression of sinning. That's seeming,
Right.
though, it's sin. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, if it was a back and forth where we were raising our voices at each other and it got disrespectful, and no matter how much we keep on going, it never gets to an ending point and nobody's listening to each other, then there's apologies that are needed. But combative, no. Combative, in order for you to be like literally considered combative, you have to be not listening to what I'm saying. Like the closest you've been to combative in this Bible study, I would say was at the first portion when you were reading. And you were that's the closest, but it still wasn't combative because you kept on trying to answer instead of listening to what I was saying. That's the closest. And then the only other time that I would say could be considered combative is right now when we were having this discussion. Because when I was trying to explain, you interrupted me 7 times. Actually, it was 8, I think. But the interruptions is what makes something combative because you're not hearing somebody else for what they're saying. You're trying to respond instead of trying to listen. So outside
Gotcha.
of that, don't worry about it.
I got you.
And honestly, and I would say this too, there's going to be times we overtalk each other because we're trying to get, and I had this conversation with Thomas before. There's nothing wrong with interrupting each other as long as we're willing to hear each other's main points and as long as we both understand that we're both doing it. But if you get to a point where we're interrupting each other to just explain our point, and then when somebody else interrupts you, you get mad about it as if you're not doing it yourself, now that's in the wrong. You see what I'm saying?
Understood.
So perception doesn't matter except for that. And even with that, there's limitations on how much the perception even matters on the seeming like you're sinning. So
Right.
now, with that in mind, does anybody have any other comments or questions before we pray it out? All right. Then, Charles, go ahead and unmute and pray us out.
All right, everybody, go ahead and bow your heads. Father, thank you for giving us the study today. And I pray that after the study that we start to get some of the homework done. We start to prepare for worship service and the next Bible study for tomorrow. And in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Oh, Thomas, I just thought about it. Do you remember that conversation?
I have no recollection. Good night, guys. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
That's a great response. Oh man, have a good night, y'all.
Good night.